Okay, so this is what fucking ears itch. So this is the Halmahera Breakdown video. We'll go through a couple. I need to not bump my desk. We'll go through a couple things about the captive history and what have you. I will say I do have some Halmaheras left. If you're interested, shoot over to barnabyreptiles.com. I can put a link in the description. I only have one male left. I do have an older pair, but they're like 5Gs. So if you want a younger pair for 25, I do have one male left. And then I do have some single females. But that's the sales pitch portion of this, and let's get into it. All right, so Halmahera is a really interesting locality. It's from the northern Malukus. Halma is the largest island out of the northern Malukus. It is just northeast of Sulawesi. And to me, in my opinion, Halmas are kind of like the bridge between Indonesian retics and uh, Philippine retics. They seem to kind of have a little bit of both characteristics. And I believe there was a study done that showed they were genetically closer to Southern Phils than the Indonesian stuff, which makes sense to me. So based on what I'm seeing, based on their back pattern structure and the similarities I see between them and Mindanao, I would say that they're pretty closely related while having a much different color spectrum than Mindanao's. But, you know, Halma's a very weird shaped island, very large island, 6 or 7,000 square miles, I believe. So there is a variety of looks you can find on there. But for the most part, they look like the bloodlines we have here in the U.S., which is Saputrii-ish, only much darker. And, you know, there hasn't been a lot done with them in captivity. I believe Karsten had the first, Phila retics, I believe he had the first captive clutch of pures, I want to say 2016-ish. It was a few years before the first U.S. clutch, which first good U.S. clutch was 2018 or 2019. I forget which, because at the time I had 2.2, and the one pair, the one female, the aberrant, crazy looking, looked like some kind of morph. She got egg bound and died, of course. And then a few years later, I lost the male. But there hasn't been much done in terms of captive production of Halmaheras, so they are really a wide open locality to be working with. This year there will be some more crosses done. There's not going to be a lot, but there's a handful of people that are doing some Halmahera morph crosses. I'm doing a Halma to Platinum Ternate. I'm trying to see how the dark pigment of the Halma actually affects the platinum, so that should be interesting to see. But for the pattern of the snake, typically they have, you know, a side pattern pretty common that you see out of the northern and central Malukus. My female, very dark, my wildcaught female, she's very dark, and she has a lot of side banding, very long elongated rosettes. They usually vary between that and the more average sized rosettes, but they all tend to have that dark reddish to brown pattern outlining, and sometimes it does extend below the rosettes and touches the belly scales. And they typically get darker as they age. They and not like just your standard retic getting darker. I mean, they really they really get dark. And I think for that and that aspect of it is what's going to be so interesting for all the morph crosses and all the potentials there, because of something like Golden Child Motley or GC Motley. You know, you can basically turn that snake to true black almost with a Halmahera. Be interesting to see in something like Indo-Caramel, Anthrax. I personally want to see an Ocelot. I'm going to see if we can make a ocelot with those big black circles down the sides, and then on the back and surrounding it, it's just basically like a gunmetal blue. So I'm not doing that breeding this year. My one holdback female, she wasn't ready, or I would have been doing the trifecta, the Mindanao, the Ternate, and the Halma, but it looks like it's just going to be Halma or Ternate and Mindanao for this season. But there's always next season. But I mean, they are very neat snake. Size wise, they're definitely in that medium size range, that Jamp Solaire size. If you don't feed the shit out of them, they're probably going to stay under 12 feet. If you feed the shit out of them, they'll probably get over 12 feet. Temperament wise, I would just categorize them as aggressive. They're not runners. They'll stand their ground and just try to bite you. So if you do get into Halmas, you need to be willing to take the bites when they're little, so they can get accustomed to being handled and not biting the shit out of you. But yeah, I mean, they're a very interesting looking locality. Outside of the over a decade ago, there was a super tiger bred to a Halma in Indonesia, and outside of those Halma tigers, there's been virtually nothing done outside of some pure clutches. In fact, I don't know, up until this season, I don't know of any clutches of Halma morph crosses that have been produced outside of that clutch from over a decade ago in Indonesia. There might have been somewhere, I'm not saying there wasn't, but if there was, it's I don't know about it. So that's one of the exciting things about Halma from a captive perspective is, we have this very unique locality that, because of its traits, it has the ability to really change the looks and patterns of a lot of morphs we work with. Unfortunately, we don't have a real wide range of back patterns that we're seeing in the U.S. lines. And even on Halma, sometimes there's some sharper back diamond stuff, but for the most part, it all falls in between like a typical Ternate pattern and maybe something like a Ceram back pattern, a little more connected, a little more intertwined. And the side patterns, if you look at them, you can just see the potential for platinum or sunfire or anything that you're trying to add some extra color to the sides and some extra space for color to be filled in, or for the expression of something to come in, especially something on like Indo-Caramel, where you really want some extra brighter, deeper oranges on the side to really pop against the T positive part of it, of the rosettes and the back diamond, to really make it pop. So there's a ton of potential there. But yeah, I mean, they're a really, really awesome locality. There's really nothing else like them. I mean, there's some dark Ternates, but Halmas are definitely, if you've ever worked with the Ternate, worked with the Halma, there's the difference, trust me. But yeah, so I hope this was helpful, and if there's anything else that you're interested in knowing about them, let me know.